What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Mike LaBelle and welcome back to Goals FIFA Academy. And today we're talking about tactics, which is going to be crucial for anyone and everyone if you're trying to be a mediocre, an above average, a good quality FIFA player. Understanding tactics and formations, mandatory. If you appreciate the content, make sure to drop a thumbs up. Talk to us in the comments. What are your tactical adjustments? What formation are you playing? We're going to go over what you can expect to see online, especially if you're playing the weekend league, and also what I recommend. What are good starting points? But without further ado, let's talk about it. On screen, you can see my current squad. And from this screen in Ultimate Team, you push L2 if you're on the PlayStation, LT if you're on the Xbox, and you're going to go to Custom Tactics. And once you get to Custom Tactics, you're going to pick a game plan, and you can start from scratch here. And that's what you're kind of seeing on screen right now is some of these different game plans. And you can switch into these game plans at any point during the match. And that could be formation swaps, that could be tactical adjustments, all of the above. It allows you to do things on the fly. It was introduced in last year's FIFA installment, and it's going to continually build as a major component going forward with any FIFA iteration. You've got your defense and you've got your offense. And I would recommend starting on balanced for both defense and offense when you're looking at playing FIFA 20, and then kind of make adjustments from there once you notice how your gameplay fits in. What formation are you playing? In last year's installment, we saw a lot of pressure play being overpowered. However, in FIFA 20, I don't think that's where you want to start off. So let's go through these defensive options. You've got balance, which is where I'm telling you that's a good place to start. Don't have your depth too high unless you feel that you're very gifted in this year's installment with taking the ball off your opposition. But we've seen firsthand, I don't know if the risk to reward, if you were to move that depth way up the pitch where you're going to be extremely aggressive, is worth it this year unless you're chasing a game. If you're trying to make a comeback, if you're trying to change the flow. But in terms of your starting tactics, I would not go too crazy with depth. Anywhere between 3 to 6 is the regular range. So here's 3. That's what 6 looks like. You guys can count, I can count, you get it. And now with width, depends on your formation choice. If you're using a wide formation, I like to keep decent width. Anywhere between 4 to 7 seems to work out pretty well for yours truly in terms of that width. If you're trying to close out a game, you want to hold the ball, both defensively and offensively. Width, you might want to push that to the limit. And when you're looking at different tactics, we talked about balanced, which is exactly what it says it's going to be. You're going to get a little bit of everything. Your players are looking to check for the ball, looking to make runs. They give you a mix-up of where they're going to crowd out that space, both defensively and offensively when you're on balanced. So other defensive options, you have pressure on heavy touch, which is something that I really enjoyed last year. But this year, I do feel that it has some inconsistencies and makes it more difficult to be a go-to or a starting stance for your tactics in FIFA 20. Does that mean that you can't start with this, that you can't have success with it? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But it's not the same level of overpowered that we saw in last year's iteration or last year's installment. Pressure after possession loss, which I actually prefer in many instances over the pressure on heavy touch, because I know when my players are going to go for it. When I lose possession, I've got a quick moment there where everybody swarms, and I feel that it's easier for FIFA 20 to go ahead and have that immediate surge of player on player on player, try to win the ball back, and if not, then everybody starts to sit back and it looks a little more regular. And you basically want to have more pressure in 2 situations. Number 1, if you believe that you're better than your opponent, you see the game quicker, then you want to create additional pressure. And number 2, if you have a better team. So if you've built out a better squad than your opponent, you want to make sure that you're reaping those rewards, you're reaping those benefits of maybe some pack luck, grinding the game a little bit more, putting a little money into FIFA 20, and therefore you have a squad advantage. And to utilize those players, you want to put them in as many 50-50 scenarios and situations as possible, because they're going to win more often than not. And when we're looking at pressure on heavy touch or pressure after possession loss, you still do not have to ramp up the depth. You might feel like you need to, but in this year's installment, I really don't think you have to go crazy with that depth unless you are trying to chase a game, you are trying to make a comeback. Constant pressure. Avoid starting any game with constant pressure. Your players are going to be exhausted. They're going to look real tired by the 60th minute. And it no longer looks like constant pressure, just too much space in behind. And it doesn't really matter what formation you're playing. Constant pressure is really only going to be used at the end of a match or towards the end of a match where you're going for it. You're just committing all your bodies forward. You know what it is. He knows what it is. We know what it is. Everyone on the pitch is aware that the pressure is coming. Drop back. Not my favorite. Not something that I want to promote. But it has become very popular in FIFA 20. And this basically allows your opponent or allows you to sit back, absorb a lot of the pressure, and then look to leak out, look to counterattack. It's not going to make you a lot of friends, but it does have a certain degree of success in FIFA 20. It's become much more common. People lower the depth, they run on drop back, and then maybe for their offensive style, instead of having balanced, they would have a fast build-up where they're trying to go forward and release quick deep balls, or even if they went to long balls, similar story where they have a player like Aubameyang leaking out, and they're going to aim to hit them early and often. A little more direct play. It's not as pretty, it's not as easy on the eyes, but it is a tactic. I would not be mad if EA decided they wanted to get rid of drop back at any point going forward. It's all about making sure that you create a title that has a certain degree of balance, especially when you're aiming to please the casual, the intermediate, and the competitive player all in one title while having a simulation and having an arcadey feel, still having a video game-esque vibe when you're playing the title. It's a challenging job. I will throw that out there. It is a challenging job because all three of those crews might want something a little bit different for their personal experience. Let's talk about offense. Similar story. Offensively, I would recommend starting on balanced and kind of going from there. Where are you naturally gifted? You have to be very honest with your gameplay. How do you score your goals? Are you getting enough player movement? Do you look to play slow? Do you look to play fast? Are you going in behind quickly? Are you direct? Are you indirect? These are questions only you can answer, and it does matter the formation. It does matter the offensive style and game plan as to putting together your tactics. And you might say, is all this really that important? The answer is yes. I would not cover anything that's not important in a FIFA installment. And between your squad, your formation, your tactics, you can basically give yourself those extra tools to make sure that you're playing in the manner that you want to be playing. You're replicating what you've got up here. When we're looking at balanced offense, I like to have decent width, so anywhere between 4 all the way up to about 7 or so. But I also play wide-based formations, and this works for me. Players in the box, you don't need to go extreme. You don't have to ramp this all the way up. I would not have this too low, though. Otherwise, you just don't get any commitment behind your players stepping into space or trying to get forward in attacks. Your offense can look kind of stale, especially if you're playing a more defensive formation. Corner kicks, for me personally, I just can't stand conceding corner kicks where I'm getting countered. I can't stand it. So I keep my corner kicks very low. Maybe that's a trade-off. I just can't deal with conceding goals for my offensive corner kick. I can't deal with it. It makes me angry. I get tilted. Doesn't work. Free kicks, I usually keep it on 2 or 3. Long ball. Not a tactic that I like to use, but it makes sense for players that are maybe absorbing that pressure. As I was talking about early on the defensive end, they're sinking in. They got a lot of bodies chasing back, and then they need someone to be the outlet player. You're looking for that guy that can catch it down on their chest, lay it off, maybe a big through ball. Because as they're soaking up that pressure, you're starting to commit more bodies forward. And it does leave, of course, space for your opposition to work with on a counterattack. Just not one of my favorite tactics. I'm more of a possession, a build-up player. And long ball just doesn't suit me. It's maybe a little too direct. I like some of the intricate details, but that's what it does. Fast build-up, I've never liked starting a match on fast build-up. I just feel as if your defensive back line pushes forward a little too quickly. So if you lose the ball, then you're once again open for a quick counterattack. However, and I feel like a broken record, if you need more bodies forward towards the end of a match, or you just want to shift the flow, especially if you're playing maybe a more aggressive narrow formation, that fast build-up can allow you to hit those tiki-taka, those quick moving triangles, and you can overwhelm your opposition, and he just feels as if, oh, he's got bodies going this way, overlapping runs going that way. Who do I stop? What do I take away? And that's where fast build-up really comes in handy. I do use fast build-up, but it's very situational for me, and I try to make sure that it stays that way. I don't want it to be my main tactic, but I do like having it in the lineup. I do like to be proficient with fast build-up offensively. Possession play. What does this mean? Kind of self-explanatory, and if you read the description, that suits possession play well. You're going to see this used at the pro level. You're going to see this used at the competitive level, intermediate, even beginner. Everyone likes using possession play offensively depending on how patient you are, what type of player you are. Are you a low-risk passer? Are you looking to have a bunch of those check-in passes? Bringing back the old school Barcelona days, they would bait you into mistakes where you start to pressure them a little bit more. And of course, Barcelona has the class to be able to take in that pressure and then find the splitting pass or find the in-behind through ball. And it's kind of similar with possession play. You're just looking at a bunch of simple passes. You're taking away some of the risk, and you're hoping to force your opponent into a mistake. So you're just not going to have as many of those deep outlets. What I want you to be able to achieve from this video is an understanding. So you're not just going into your defensive tactics or offensive tactics and making adjustments or moving the meter this way or moving the meter that way, and you're not really sure what that changes in the grand scheme of everything that's going forward and everything that's on the defensive side of the pitch or on the virtual pitch. If you have questions, please use the comments. I'd love to know what tactical setup you have going, and maybe even where you finish if you're playing the weekend league, because that plays a part. What kind of team are you using? What are your goals? What are you achieving? What kind of success rate are you having? The formation, kind of all encompassing. But just in summary, start unbalanced and balanced. Don't go reckless with some of these tactics, and then start to make shifts based on how you want to play. What type of gameplay suits you? But you have to have a measuring variable. You have to have that starting point. Also, keep stats if you're playing the weekend league, division rivals. It matters. I do it every single week, and it gives me a lot of information of what players are actually performing and what I've done well with different tactical adjustments, whether it was done on the fly or we're going with completely new game plans. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll have a lot more content come for you ASAP.